So before we start today's lesson, let's have a look at our learning from last time round. And in our last lesson, last question, here we can see two analog clocks showing us the time. And our question now is how much time has elapsed. Elapsed is another way that we can say the duration between. So we're going from clock 1 to clock 2. And our choices are A, the elapsed time is 50 minutes. B, the elapsed time is 1 hour and 50 minutes. C is 1 hour and 10 minutes. And D is 2 hours and 50 minutes. So here are two times. And the question is how much time has elapsed. Is it A, B, C or D? Now pause the video and work out which time you think it's going to be. Then come and join me when you're ready. So in order to answer this one, we can simply use the same strategies as we used previously. And if we look, we can see clock 1 is telling us 5 minutes past 10, 10:05 on a 24-hour clock. And clock number 2, well, it's not quite 12 o'clock yet. So this one's looking like, and if I look very closely at the minute hand, we're looking at it being about 5 to 12, 11:55. So now we can start working out. And if I wanted to start at clock 1 and I wanted to jump forward 1 whole hour, I would go from 5 minutes past 10 or 10:05 to 5 minutes past 11 or 11:05. So that would be 1 hour. So we know that it definitely can't be A. Now if I wanted to go from 5 past 11 for another hour, then it would be 5 past 12. So I can say that it's definitely not that time because I'm looking at 11:55. So D cannot be the answer. So we've already got rid of A, it can't be 50 minutes, and D, it can't be 2 hours 50 minutes. So now we're looking at B, is it 1 hour and 50 minutes, or C, 1 hour and 10 minutes. And we've already worked out 5 past 10 to 5 past 11 is 1 hour. And if I was looking at 10 minutes more, well that would be 5 past 11, 10 past 11, 15 minutes past 11. So C would show that second clock is 15 minutes past 11 or quarter past 11, but it doesn't. It shows a later time. So if we start at 5 past 11, we can jump forward half an hour to 11:35. And then I've got 20 minutes more to go. So 11:35, add on 5, gives me 11:40. Add on another 5 to give me 10. 11:45, add on another 5 to give me 15. 11:50. And add on another 5 to give me another 20 minutes would be 11:55. So 1 hour and 50 minutes after 5 past 10 is 11:55. Well done if you've got that answer correct. Now in today's session we're going to be looking to answer the question of how can I compare durations of time. And in order to do this we're going to be building on the work we did in the last session of finding out those durations, the amount of time that is between the start time and the end time. Or using that vocabulary we've just seen, the time that elapses from the start to the finish. And in this time we're going to compare them. So we're going to have two different durations to find to decide which one's going to be longer or which one's going to be shorter. So now if we turn to our textbook, we can see that our question relates to our library. And we have an open day with different activities taking place. And our question is, which activity takes the longest? Now in order to solve this problem, we are going to have to think about what information the image gives us and how we can use these to find our answer. So thinking about our last lesson, last question and the work we did last time, how can we work out how long each activity takes? Pause the video and I want you to try and find out how long Meet the Author takes, how long Songs and Stories takes, how long the Poetry Workshop takes, and then I'd like you to decide which one of those takes the longest. Now let's go through the answer for this and see what strategies we used to answer which activity takes the longest for question 1A. Now we know that Meet the Author begins at 9:06 or 6 minutes past 9 and continues until 10 o'clock. So I've shown the start time for Meet the Author on my analog clock, and I've now added the end time on my analog clock as well. I've shaded the time that elapsed the duration in orange, and we can simply count using the same strategies as we used last time. So if I'm looking at this clock, for example, I could say from 9:06 to 9:10 is 4 minutes, from 9:10 till 10 o'clock is going to be 50 minutes, 50 minutes plus 4 minutes is 54 minutes. And we can see that this time is going to be 54 minutes. When we look at the songs and stories, we can see that it begins at 11:35 and it finishes at 12:20. So the duration is going to be that time between 11:35 and 12:20. And once again, I've shown this using my analog clock. So I've drawn 11:35 to show you where we're starting. To make this simpler, I've jumped from 11:35 till 12 o'clock, which gives me 25 minutes. And then I've gone from 12 o'clock till 20 past 12 or 12:20 to give me another 20 minutes. So you can see my first jump of 25 minutes, my second jump of 20 minutes. So 25 added to the 20 gives me an answer of 45 minutes. So songs and stories lasts for 45 minutes. Our third activity was our poetry workshop, and it begins at 13:40 and it ends at 14:40. And if we were taking this to an analog clock, we could say 13:40 is 1:40 p.m. to 14:40, which would be 2:40 p.m. And in this case, I can look at the minutes and see they're exactly the same, and we can work out that from 13:40, as shown on the analog clock, the minute hand is going to go one full circuit off that clock. So the whole thing is coloured in because it's gone for 60 minutes, one whole hour. Now, if you notice, I've recorded this as minutes, and the reason for that is because my other two were done in minutes as well, and I find it easier to always use in the same unit. So now we know the duration for each of these events. We know that Meet the Author is 54 minutes, we know that Songs and Stories is 45 minutes, and we know that the Poetry Workshop is 60 minutes. We can now think about how to order them, and for this I go to my old friend, the number line, and I can simply place each event onto this number line, so I can actually see which sequence, which order they're going to be in. And we can see that Songs and Stories, 45 minutes, we've labelled it onto that number line. We have our Meet the Author, again, labelled onto the number line for us. And finally, I've labelled the Poetry Workshop, so we can see Songs and Stories is the shortest at 45 minutes, Meet the Author is at 54 minutes, and the Poetry Workshop is at 60 minutes. So we can see, to answer that question, which one of these activities is the longest, it will be our Poetry Workshop. So now we can use that information to help us answer question 1b. When might the arts and crafts finish? Now, we're told the arts and craft activity takes less time than the Poetry Workshop. So it takes less than the duration of the Poetry Workshop took. But it takes more time than the Meet the Author event. So the duration of it is going to be more or greater than the Meet the Author. So when might the arts and craft activity finish? This is going to be one of those questions where there's going to be more than one option with your answer, but you're going to have to use those two facts to actually solve it. So you're going to pause the video and you're going to answer question 1b. The arts and craft activity takes less time than the Poetry Workshop. It takes more time than the Meet the Author event. When might the arts and craft activity finish? Come and join me when you're ready to discuss the strategy you have just used. So let's take a look at this question. The arts and crafts activity takes less time than the Poetry Workshop, and it takes more than the Meet the Author event. So when might the arts and craft activity finish? Well, on our number line we've got the times when the durations of time that the Songs and Stories last for, the Meet the Author and the Poetry Workshop. So looking at that first question, we're given two really important pieces of information. The arts and crafts activity takes less time than the Poetry Workshop, and it takes more time than the Meet the Author event. This means that arts and crafts activity is going to take between those two times, the Meet the Author at 54 minutes and the Poetry Workshop at 60 minutes. So we know that the arts and craft is going to sit somewhere in between. So we now know that the Meet the Author is 54 minutes and the Poetry Workshop is 60 minutes. So our arts and craft activity is going to be either 55 minutes long, 56 minutes long, 57, 58 or 59 minutes long. And from the notice board, we know that the arts and craft is going to begin at 14:45, or shown on an analog clock, 2:45 or 2:45. So now we're going to know that we're going to be looking at those two times. We know that it's going to be from 14:45. It's going to be between 55 minutes and 59 minutes. So if we count on those two times from this analog clock, you can see what time it will end at. So if we're at 14:45, 2:45, and we count on 55 minutes, it means it will finish at 15:40, 3:40. If it was 59 minutes long, it would start at 14:45 or 2:45 and end at 15:44, 3:44. And it will be any time in between. So we could have it as 15:40, 15:41, 15:42, 15:43, or 15:44. So any of those times would be the correct answer to this. So now we've gone through that first question. Now it's time to continue with the work from your textbook before moving on to your workbook. So think about the strategies we used. Think about how we were applying that knowledge from yesterday of being able to find the duration of one time and then the second time, and then using that number line to help us order and sequence those times to find out which one was longest, which one was shortest. So when we're looking at this, think about it with your first question. Here's two times for two library events. Which event takes longest? The first thing you want to do is to find the duration of how long the story time took, the duration of the make a book activity, and then you can compare those two numbers to see which one had most minutes. So good luck, and I look forward to seeing your work on this.